About the spending and tax bill that is coming before the Congress, driven by Republicans and the Trump administration. The heart of this Republican economic proposal is a massive tax cut for the very, very wealthy and for corporations. And this time, not borrowed to be paid back later by middle-class taxpayers, this time paid for by immediate cuts to some of the programs that regular, ordinary Americans, many frail seniors, depend on, like the Medicaid program. It does appear to a lot of Americans that this whole thing feels a bit like a scam, that this is a government that is being handed over to the billionaire class in order to operationalize government to make money for the very, very wealthy, and for the rest of us to pay the price. Since Elon Musk, the richest man in the universe, has taken control of the government with Donald Trump, the value of his business has gone up by 30%. Tesla stock has gone up by 30%. Of course it has. Of course it has. Because Elon Musk is now able to get inside the government to arrange things to benefit his companies. For instance, the NLRB is gone. They fired the Democrat on the board. It is unable to muster a quorum. It's not coincidental that the NLRB had several open investigations of Tesla. And of course, Elon Musk has access to the data, especially the data inside Treasury, that's going to help him gain an advantage on his competitors, whether he's trying to set up a new tax payment system or he's trying to set up a new universal payment capacity on Twitter. So it's not shocking that the value of Musk's business has gone way up, because he now controls the federal government in a way that can benefit his business. But Trump is doing very well too. He made $100 million off of a meme coin where we have no idea as Americans who's buying it. It is very likely foreign actors trying to influence the administration who can secretly buy the meme coin and then whisper to Donald Trump that we got your back when you needed it. $40 million from Amazon for a new documentary of the First Lady. Legal settlements from ABC News, Meta, and X, all shockingly settled with cash payments to the Trump family after the election. And the monetization of foreign policy for Donald Trump, just like the monetization of foreign policy for Elon Musk. News this week that the PGA and the Saudis were meeting with the president to try to settle their disputes. Not coincidental to the fact that Donald Trump is in business with one of those golf leagues. Centerpiece is a tax cut that is 852 times bigger for the top 1% of earners in this country than for low-income families. Chart, that's what 852 times looks like. I mean, they're not trying to hide what's going on here. Rates are coming down. If you make a whole ton of money, rates are staying the same if you're middle income or lower income. Another way to tell this story is that if you're in the top 1%, your average tax cut is about $70,000. But if you're making $30,000 a year, and there's a whole bunch of people in this country that are making $30,000 a year, especially when Republicans refuse to support the minimum wage going above $7.25 an hour. If you make $30,000 a year, you're going to get about $130. $70,000 if you're doing really, really well, $130 for everybody else. That doesn't make any sense. Why do people making $600,000 a year need $70,000? Well, only $100 goes to everybody else. The corporations are in the mix here too. They came to Congress in 2007 and said we'd need a lower tax rate. And then Trump and his Republican allies gave them a tax rate even lower than they asked. And they made this claim that all this extra money going to the corporations was going to be passed down to workers. They had a specific claim that it was going to result in $4,000 more in income to every American. Because that's how trickle-down economics works in the brains of Republicans. You give a whole bunch of money to corporations, and they're going to be generous, and they're going to give that money to workers in extra income. Well, we now have 8 years of experience since that first tax cut that they're looking to reauthorize. It wasn't even 200, it was zero. The tax cut resulted in an increase in salary to those people that worked for those corporations that got the big tax cut. A salary increase is zero. It's a scam. Trickle-down economics is a scam. When you put this much money into the hands of the wealthy, it does not trickle down to everybody else. When it stays in the pockets of the wealthy, the corporations use it in order to do stock buybacks, in order to inflate CEO salaries. It just separates the rich from the poor. This version of the giant billionaire and corporate tax cut is so much worse. But whereas in 2017, it was all borrowed, this time Republicans are contemplating not borrowing the money, but instead just taking it from poor people and middle-class people. Just taking it from them to give it to the billionaires and the corporations. The cut that they're contemplating in the House of Representatives is a cut to Medicaid. Now, they're also thinking about cuts to Medicare, your parents' primary health insurance. They're contemplating cuts to the Affordable Care Act. That's the program that insures 20 million working Americans, but they're really zeroed in on Medicaid. And they're contemplating such devastating cuts to Medicaid that it would eviscerate the program. And I mean, maybe you can say, well, I mean, Medicaid, it's for, poor people, and that's not me. Well, listen, I think that we have an obligation to try to make sure that everybody in this country, even poor children, have access to health care. But Medicaid also pays for your parents' or your neighbors' nursing home costs. If you cut the amount of money that they're talking about out of the Medicaid program, you're literally talking about nursing homes shutting down and seniors being out on the street. That's not hyperbole. That's what happens if you make these massive cuts to Medicaid. And so what they're talking about this year is not just running up a credit card bill in order to fund the tax cuts for the wealthy. They're literally talking about putting seniors out on the street in order to fund a tax cut for the wealthy. The whole thing just feels like a scam to people. The favors being given to billionaires that are inside the government, the tax cut that benefits the very, very wealthy at the expense of everybody else, the cutting of services that help regular people in order to finance the tax cut. And whether it ends up being one bill or two bills, the centerpiece is still the centerpiece. The transfer of resources and wealth from regular people, from the middle class, from poor people, to the very, very wealthy, the millionaire and billionaire class, the corporations. And so we're going to tell this story here on the Senate floor, all over the country, while this bill moves its way through the process, either as one bill or two bills. Because regardless of the process, the story is still the same, a scam. To take money from regular people to make the lives of the rich and powerful even more lavish.